Good morning, YouTubers, and welcome to the Countmouth channel. Again, welcome back, should I say? Oh man, what a fucked up weekend it has been. It's Sunday, the Sunday after the horrendous terrorism attack in Paris. Heart goes out to those people, man. Just terrible act of cowardice by a bunch of madmen. And I guess I wanted to touch on it a little bit, because there are a few things that happened on that night that always happen when these things occur, when these terrorist attacks occur, and they always wind me up, and it always annoys me that some people have this kind of naive approach or naive way of looking at these things. And I guess I found out about the Paris thing because I was watching Smo. Smo was streaming some stuff online. He was playing some game. He was streaming, and a load of us kind of watch and chat, and you know, just vloggers really chatting. And they were talking about it, and I didn't know what was going on. I'd been watching a film, so I had no idea what was going on. Yeah, so as soon as I found out what was going on, I jumped onto Twitter to find out what the score was and what the latest news out of Paris was. And you know, there are loads of people doing the usual kind of hearts and prayers go out to them, and and that's all good and well. And but then you get these people who suddenly start throwing out those comments that you always see at terrorist attack, which is immigration and religion are to blame. And it really annoys me. I find it, I mean, it's my opinion. This is my opinion, and they're entitled to theirs. You know, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I've got no problem with that. But I do find it that it's a very naive way of looking at it. I know people feel the need to put a tag on these things so they can explain it, but it's too simple to say that it's religion and that immigration and religion are the cause, because they're just not. You know, the cause is an act of madmen. The cause is that there are fucking insane people out there, and they will use anything as an excuse to incite terror and to kill people. That's the reality. If you got rid of immigration and you got rid of religion, they'd find something else as an excuse. If you want to take it back to basics, then I would explain it in this way. I would explain religion in this way, and the fact that people use it to incite hatred. So religion is basically, it's all it is differences. It's people's differences. It's one group of people believing in one way of life against another group of people believing in another way of life. And unfortunately, you get extremists. Within those groups, you will always get people with an extremist position, a small minority of them, of an extremist position, who will do the kind of things that we saw in Paris. Now, if you got rid of religion, they just find something else to rally around and get extremist about. And, you know, I kind of think of the Twix advert as a good example of that. One of the most recent Twix adverts is there's two Twix factories, and they're next to each other. And basically, Twix started off. So the story is that Twix started off together, and then what the advert says is that at some point there were two factions within the company. One that believed that you had to make Twix in a certain way, and the other that believed that you had to make it in another way. And it is basically exactly the same product, but slightly differently made, and they have a different colour wrapper. Now, if you imagine that there was no religion in the world, but the only thing that did exist was two very large corporations, one being the Twix company A, who make a Twix one way and wrap it in a red wrapper, and another corporation that make Twixes in another way and wrap it in another wrapper. Exactly the same product. Tastes the same, it's exactly the same. There's no difference between it at all, just in the way that it's produced. If all people did was follow those two corporations, sooner or later an extremist group would come into that and say our way is better, our way is the original way, and they would try and prove that their way is the original way, and it would start off with some riots, and then before you know it, we'd have terrorist attacks against the other corporation because they were in essence blaspheming because they weren't doing it the way that these people thought they were doing it. And then you could kind of expand it from that and say that, you know, a place of of worship would become the first newsagents where the Twixes were sold, and somebody, another extremist group, would say, well, it was our version of the Twix that was sold first, so therefore it's our right to worship there, nobody else. And that you could, and then you could just see how it would happen. So, you know, it's got nothing to do with religion, and it's got nothing to do with immigration. It is to do with mad people. It's to do with crazy people who want an excuse to go around killing and inciting terrorism, and that is it. That is all it is. You know, and the only difference between them and a murderer is there's a group of them, and they're saying they're doing it because, you know, because of this reason. You know, if a serial killer goes out and kills a load of people, and he turns around and says, well, God told me to do it, we don't suddenly say, well, it's all Christianity, it's a religion, or, you know, whatever religion, that's a religion problem. We put them in a funny house. You know, we bang them up because they're murderers and they're screwed up in the head. Well, that's what these terrorists are. They're basically murderers, but they're a group of murderers who've got an agenda. That's all it is. It's got nothing to do with religion, and definitely nothing to do with immigration. Immigration is a fantastic thing for the economy and for the country. And, you know, yes, we've got problems. Yes, we need to reduce the amount of immigration to an extent. I think we do need to look at it. We do need to say, well, you know, are we managing this in the best way possible? Because I do think that, you know, our infrastructure just can't cope with more and more people coming in. But you do need to think about, well, if X amount of people come in, how many people are going out? Is it balancing itself out? It probably isn't. But if, you know, what percentage of those people coming in are actually putting a burden on in the infrastructure? What percentage of those people are contributing to the infrastructure? Then we can come out and go, well, okay, let's just say for argument's sake, 40% of all immigrants are a burden on the infrastructure. I don't think it's that high, but let's just say it is. Well, then we need to do something about it. But if it's 20%, then we need to maybe think a little bit different. You know, we need facts behind it before, you know, not just, you know, UKIP saying, oh, immigration, you know, we've got to close the borders. We need facts behind it, not scaremongering. And so I would just ask, really, you know, if your belief is that immigration and religion are all the things that are wrong with the world, then look into it. You know, don't just state it, actually look into it. Come forward to the table with some facts, and maybe together we can all change the world. But as far as I'm concerned, they're not the problem. It's the individuals that are the problem, and they're the ones that we need to find and take off the fucking streets. You know, I do believe it's time we started dealing with ISIS, because it's going to get out of hand. It really is. I mean, you've only got to look at Paris and think, well, maybe it's already got out of hand. But I do think we need to do something about it. But anyway, I mean, guys, look, that's my opinion on it. It was a terrible, terrible thing to happen. And like I said, I don't think it's to do with religion. I don't think it's to do with immigration. I think it's to do with individual madmen. And yeah, so look, take care, everyone. I've been Count Miffed. Thank you very much.